Spring is here, the birds are singing, the sun is shining. Well, you know what I mean, it kind of is. Anyway, in the past few months, your bike has probably taken an absolute battering from the weather. So today, let's get it shining nice and bright again so that your riding mates are ever so jealous. Come on, let's go and get it shiny. So what are we actually going to need for the job? Well, if you've got a work stand, that's going to make the job, in my opinion, quite a bit easier because the bike's going to be high so you can work with it nice and easy. You're also going to need some bike wash or some car shampoo, a bucket, some hot water, a couple of sponges, some stiff brushes, some chain degreaser is perfect, some old rags and a hose pipe or a jet wash if you've got one. If not, just a bucket of clean water at the end. First up, let's actually tackle that ever so mucky drivetrain that you've got. So if it's in an aerosol, go ahead and spray the drivetrain fully and allow it actually to start its work. In my case, I'm actually going to fill up an old water bottle here with some degreaser and paint it on with a brush because, well, sadly, the guys at GMBN, they've stolen all of the degreaser. So if you have actually got some wellies, I do suggest putting them on. I forgot to bring mine in, but don't worry. But let's actually get to work on that drivetrain. So with your paintbrush, simply put it into the bottle cage and then essentially paint the cassette and the chain with it and allow it to really get stuck in. So a nice little cheat here is to get two nail brushes, dip those in the degreaser, and then clamp the chain with them. And then with your other hand, actually pedal backwards, and that's going to get inside all of the rollers and also the pins, hopefully, to wash out any crud that's managed to get in there. It does an amazing job of getting it nice and clean. So I'm going to leave that degreaser on the bike right now to allow it to do its job because, well, it's a pretty filthy bike, isn't it? And I'm quite embarrassed about it, to be honest. So we're actually going to start on the frame of the bike. So remove anything you've got on there. In my case, got removed my air saver, a couple of rear lights and a front light. And then we're going to start from the saddle and work downwards. That way, all the dirty stuff works its way to the floor. So if you've got yourself some bike cleaner, go ahead and spray that on. Otherwise, just use that soapy water. Make sure it's nice and hot to allow all that grime to wash off. Come on, let's get it looking good again. Also, if you're using disc brakes, make sure that you spray some disc brake cleaner in there just to rinse out any contamination that you're finding. Rim brake users, this is where you are going to need to scrub away at those rims to remove any brake dust. Believe me, it can really accumulate. So give it lots and lots of elbow grease and you'll get better braking too. So, get yourself in that bucket of water. Not literally, it's now time for shine time. I've been riding in, getting myself absolutely filthy just for this video, actually. Everywhere. Don't forget, insides of the forks in particular, they get really, really mucky. And underneath, now the next bit, if you've got a standard bike, so not with disc brakes, you put yourself a chain keeper in there and hold the chain in place. Alternatively, if you've got an old through axle, you can actually rest the chain in there and put it in. I wouldn't recommend doing it though with a current through axle. The reason being, I did hear a rumour once that someone actually managed to grind through an axle with their chain whilst doing the next step. So yeah, just be aware of that, okay? But hey, let's go on to the next step then. So, you're going to get your soapy water again, and then with your sponge, essentially hold the chain and then pedal forward. So you're going to get some grime off of that chain. So now let's actually move on to the wheels, the last thing. So essentially, again, grab the sponge and just go across the tyre like so. Give it a full couple of turns, washing off any oil that's dripped onto it. And then, if you're using rim brakes, get a sponge or even a nail brush and actually scrub away on the sidewalls so that you're getting off any brake dust there, which is ultra important for better braking. Plus two, you can inspect the sidewall for any rim damage. Luckily, I've got disc brakes, so it's going to speed it up for me quite a bit because that brake dust can take quite a while to remove. And this is always the fiddliest bit, trying to get in there on the actual hub shell itself. I've got quite small hands, fortunately, so I can get in there. You can also use some of those soapy suds too, just to wash off that degreaser. You don't want to flood it out. As you can see, I'm just like tapping it on just to try and release any of that degreaser from the cassette. And we're nearly there. Now, if you've got yourself a hose pipe at home, you're going to be laughing because you can just rinse off now all those soapy suds. Or if you've got a bucket of water, just go easy, so don't throw it all over it because you don't want to destroy any bearings, but you can just pour it over perhaps from a jug instead. I'm lucky though, I've just managed to get myself a new toy, kind of like a mobile jet wash, so I'm going to be able to rinse it off quite easily. Come on, let's see how well it works. And then finally, let's clean up those wheels. So it's nice and clean now. All that dirty water has been removed. It's now time, if you've got a compressor at home, you're laughing because you can just blast off all that water with the efficiency of air. Otherwise, take it out of the stand or lift it up off the floor and actually give it a good old shake to remove as much water as possible. And then with a microfiber cloth or something like that, just try and dry it off as much as you can. So now with an old cloth, try and dry the chain and the drivetrain as much as possible, so that basically you're removing all that water before any corrosion can actually start setting place, because it can happen very fast. So my own next step is to spray in here some water displacing fluid. The reason being, it's going to force all that water out to stop any corrosion taking place. And then after a few hours, once it's dry, wipe that away with a cloth and then apply your chain lubricant. So there we are, a shiny looking bike again. How cool does that look? Well, I know it's not that shiny because it's a matte frame, but you know what I mean. But that drivetrain, that's looking good again, isn't it? Remember as well to give it a like and share it with your friends, particularly if you've got a friend who has a filthy bike. Make sure they check it out. Also, I want to know, what are your tips, hints and tricks for cleaning a bike, especially when it's been in such grubby condition as this one? I do apologise. Also, if you want to get yourself an apron to keep yourself dry, I could have done with some wellies on today, check out shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, where we've got a whole arrangement of goodies for you to buy. And also, for another great maintenance video, click just down here.